Welcome to Popcorned Planet. I am Andy Signore. We are usually live around 1 o'clock. I'm going to start owning 1 o'clock. I think I can finally hit that time if I actually start committing to 1 o'clock. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is a more realistic time where we break down the news, pop culture. And we were just talking a little bit before I got to this main story I want to talk to you guys about, which is Mr. Big and Sex and the City's reboot series, and Just Like That. Mr. Big, the actor who plays him on that show, his name is Chris Noth. He was also on Law & Order. He also just starred in a very popular and viral Peloton ad. Now, in order to talk about this story and the fate of and Just Like That, the new Sex and the City series with Sarah Jessica Parker and crew, minus Kim Cattrall, I am going to have to talk about some plot points of that show, which may spoil some, a big event that you've had weeks to watch and you haven't. So apologies, you had your opportunity. We are going to have to get into some plot points because it's very relevant into how this story has now been progressing. And I want to get your thoughts on how Peloton and the Sex and the City community has been reacting to all this news and these allegations against Chris Noth. So, to rewind, before we even get to what the latest drama is, Chris Noth here is the actor Mr. Big, who's Carrie's on and off again boyfriend on the show. I guess they got married, husband later in the new show. They finally got together, I guess, at the end of the last movie, and so they were together for this new reboot. But Mr. Big's kind of been a jerk. It's not. I mean, the show's even addressed that, and Carrie's addressed that. I'm told she addresses it in episode 3 of the new season 2. Mr. Big wasn't the perfect guy. He treated her like crap at times. And there was definitely a lot of is he actually good for her? But the show had sort of set up this idea they were finally happy together. Yeah, the show, they're now older, they're moving on, and the show was Carrie and Mr. Big, John, his real name, had finally found their way and were happy in life, as as things can happen. And so what happened at the end of episode 1 of this new show, again, spoiler warning, if you don't want to know the plot point, FYI, you've been warned, he is killed off at the end of episode 1. And then for the first time, the voiceover kicks in, and just like that, Mr. Big died. And he died after working out on a Peloton bike. He was doing a Peloton workout with his sexy trainer Allegra, and I thought, oh, is he going to cheat on with his but no, he did his 1,000th bike ride and over pushed himself, and then after the workout had a heart attack, dropped his phone in the shower, couldn't reach it from the phone, collapsed, and took too long, and he died. And so it was sad. I thought, well done, and I think all the fans, we were all remarking on the fact that, oh man, this is brutal. Mr. Big's dead. A lot of fans were mad. How could you do that? How could you take away this character from this universe? That's not okay. And Just Like That, this show sucks, blah, 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 blah. And then everyone went over to Peloton, and Peloton stock dropped 11%. 11%, and people were pissed. They're like, Peloton killed Mr. Big. How dare you? Well, Peloton was really clever in their response. They're like, whoa, no. If anything, Peloton extended Mr. Big's life, who lived an extravagant lifestyle of cigars, whiskey, and all liquor, etc. His exercise was the one thing that was actually preventing him from heart attack. And then they had a cardiologist come in, and props to Peloton and their PR team. They handled it like pros. They took what they should have clearly paid attention. Wait a second, he's going to die after being on one of our bikes? That's not a good look. They took that lemon and made lemonade by then making it. Well, no, he lived even longer because Mr. Big died from a heart attack, not from a Peloton. And he shouldn't have overworked himself. He lived too extravagant of a lifestyle. Those are the lessons to be learned here. And all of you should be aware that riding your Peloton within the guidelines of how you're supposed to do it is better for your health and to avoid dying of a heart attack like Mr. Big. It was a very clever spin. And then on top of that, what they did is they made a viral video with Mr. Big here and the so-called trainer Allegra that Ryan Reynolds, yes, actor Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool himself, used his marketing firm to quickly turn around in I think they did it in 36 hours. They turned around this ad and had Chris Noth and Allegra, the actress who plays the trainer. She was a famous Peloton trainer that I guess went on to Dancing with the Stars, and they somehow got them together for this holiday ad where the two of them, talk, and he's like, well, I guess there's time for one more ride, right? It was a very clever way to Mr. Big's still alive, ride your Peloton unless you have heart conditions, yada, yada, yada. It was a really great sort of disclaimer ad that sort of broke things down in a way that, in my opinion, was very clever marketing. Incredibly clever marketing that I have to say, good on Peloton for being so on top of this. So that's where things had landed. And then everything was like, all right, Peloton was sort of slowly going its way back. But then on Thursday out of nowhere, I got to be careful this headline, Hollywood Reporter puts out a article basically saying that Chris Noth, 2 women alleged of incidents of misconduct that they took place more than a decade apart. And when I say incidents of misconduct, not consensual incidents. And 2 women, as I read this piece, I'm always very careful of like, all right, I want to hear this out. This is brave to step forward. I hope and assume they're telling the truth. Let's hear what they have to say. And then let's hear what Chris Noth has to say. Let's gather the information we can and figure out, okay, what's happening here? Let's figure this out. And so when I read the article, and I got to be careful, you guys can look this article up. It's a Hollywood Reporter piece. There was things in there that were troubling to read. There were things in there that made me think, okay, this isn't just some like random accusation. One of them went to the hospital afterwards. One of them had text messages that weren't very flattering. And then both of them say they don't know each other and had very similar stories, even far apart, to sort of convey a pattern in a way that's like, all right, all of these red flags in my brain that something's up here, something doesn't look right. Chris Noth, what's your response? Well, Chris Noth's response was, the accusations made against me are by individuals I met years ago, even decades ago, are categorically false. These stories could have been from 30 years ago or 10 or 30 days ago. No always means no, and that's a line I did not cross. These encounters were consensual. It's difficult not to question the timing of these stories coming out. I don't know for certain why they are surfacing now, but I do know this. I did not ASSAULT those women. So it's now a he said, she said. He hasn't provided any more evidence than they did. And honestly, looking at their evidence, according to the newspaper, it doesn't look good. Now, I also got to play all my cards. Hollywood Reporter is not a trustworthy organization. They have done hit pieces against Johnny Depp, me, others. They go where the narrative suits them. And that's part of the problem here for me of like, I'm very skeptic. I want to hear this person. At the same time, I know they've done other hit pieces that weren't potentially as vetted as we want them to be. So it puts me as an audience member. Okay, I'm on our edge. I'm on alert. We got to sort this out. What's going on? Will more people come forward? Will there be more evidence? What's going on? Chris Noth saying he's not doing anything. We're now at a point of he said, she said, right? And so at that point, I don't know what to do at that point. If you guys got to read the article yourself, you can go through some of the details and you're going to believe them, which I assume a lot of people are going to believe them. I do believe them right now. I do. How Chris Noth saying, well, no, that's not the case. And so what's interesting though is Peloton got under fire for making this ad. And I got to be careful. I don't know what they always, because of these allegations, Peloton removes viral Chris Noth ad after allegations. And they did it immediately. And my only worry is, look, what they said here is, and to read their quote, again, I have to be careful of some of these words. I hate that I have to be careful of the words, but their main quote was, and they got very specific of this type of accusation must be taken seriously. Agreed. I absolutely agree. We were unaware of these allegations when we featured Chris Noth in our response to HBO's reboot. As we seek to learn more, we have stopped promoting this video and archived related social posts. Now, they were under fire because a lot of people were coming at them very hard because of the comments. In fact, some of the comments were just ridiculous. And I'm sorry, but they were. I thought I had them here. Twitter things that came forward that were like, how dare you hire this man, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, they didn't know. Peloton didn't be like, we heard these accusations and we ignored them, and we're going to now use him. And it's like, I got to be careful how I show this, but it's like, from this Twitter user, so now you're using accused R-word Chris Noth in your ads. That's what happens when you put hype before integrity. Maybe don't take 24 hours to plan your ads next time. You guys are terrible. Why? How dare you? He's a cute, blah, blah, blah. Guys, it's just like to jump forward and yell at Peloton for casting him is asinine to me. They had no idea of these allegations, for one. So I got to defend them there. They're under pressure because idiots on Twitter immediately just jump to react and blame people when it's like they did a funny viral video and everyone before Thursday didn't realize the accusations against this man. So no one chose to ignore people and go, reward this guy. In Peloton's defense, come on. Why are we stupid? Now they know the information. They reacted and they gave in to this mob and they pulled the ad. And that's the debate I want to talk to you about, as well as some other things that are coming in the show. We're going to get there, but this is the most serious one because, look, these allegations are serious. I do want to take them seriously. I am taking them seriously. I'm telling you, after everything I've read between the both parties, in my opinion, I'm leaning more towards the victims in this one because Chris Noth has not come out. He's not given me enough aside from just a flat-out denial that, to me, it's not looking good for him. It just doesn't look good given everything else that the report is saying. So that said, I can understand that Peloton would make that decision too. This is a new ad. It sort of paints him in sort of a flirty way. Probably a bad look right now. And the reality is they don't need that ad. He's canceling himself in a way. And all the problems of you killed Mr. Big. Peloton's almost like, oh, wow. All right. Yeah, we did the work for you, right, guys? Because he sucks. And so in a way, I don't completely disagree with their choice. However, by this logic, should we remove all of his Law & Order episodes? By this logic, should we remove the first 2 episodes of And Just Like That? By this logic, should we go remove the whole Sex and the City scenes with Mr. Big? What's the line? If we go and allow this mob to demand us to cancel this video, which I said I don't believe at any way any of those producers, Peloton, Sex and the City, and so Just Like That, Law & Order, I don't believe any of them knew what he was doing or alleged of doing and continue to just make content, right? So when we give in to this mob who demands remove, that's cancel culture. And that's what I'm against. I'm totally against it because I don't think rushing to remove this ad while this man, whether I like it or not, still has the right, the legal right to defend himself. Why are we so quick to pull that ad? The ad's not promoting him in a way, it's promoting the character. You know what I mean? And so this is an important topic to me because it's not a lot of people want to go there or defend him. And I'm not even trying to defend him. I'm listening. This is all fresh, right? We're all there. And the timing of everything just coming together looks off. It does. And then you're like, well, Mr. Big, what if he has a point? What if there's more coming? What if he is innocent? And then Peloton is out there. And if you go Google him right now, Peloton's pulling of the ad is what ultimately is really now keeping the story running. And Ryan Reynolds is in the new, it's all of this is now compounding because Peloton, I wanted to open up the headlines. If you look up Chris Noth, I can't, the what he's accused of is a keyword I can't show you on screen because YouTube will read it and then I'll be in trouble. But not Peloton suspended, but Chris Noth, Peloton ad suspended. Chris Noth ad pulled after blah, blah, blah. Chris Noth ad pulled. I'm looking at them all. It's tons of stuff here. And so it's like, and then on top of that, Kristen Davis, who plays Charlotte, is doing an interview with James Corden last night. And as all this is breaking, and of course, James Corden's not going to go there and sort of just denies it all. And the next interesting phase of this will be how this cast responds, because that's another telling part. What's to speak to his character? Do we believe him or not, right? Those are things that need to, will there be more accusations? Things that will sort of help us say, all right, do we believe this or not is really what we have to all decide. Unless there's a criminal charge, unless he's charged with something, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Now, socially, you guys can choose not to support this guy based off of what you hear, but we got to all be careful. And so what's interesting is Chris Noth was the biggest vocal supporter of Sarah Jessica Parker when Kim Cattrall, who plays Samantha, went and badmouthed her and said it was an awful work experience. It was an awful set, et cetera, et cetera. And so now, is she going to be quick to defend him? Is she going to have his back when he had her back? That'll be very telling. According to what Kim Cattrall thinks of Sarah Jessica Parker, I'm not holding my breath on that. I'm not holding my breath on that. So all of this, there's two real stories here. There's cancel culture in full effect, which I want to make sure you're seeing. And it's we got to be careful because while I agree, it doesn't look good for Chris Noth. I'm going to say that out loud. I am going to make a judgment based on the evidence I have so far. However, he absolutely has a right to defend himself still. To me, he's still innocent until proven guilty. We on social media can decide to cast or watch his content or not. That is the beauty of choice. But right now, I'm not going to condemn him because I wasn't there. I don't know what's going on. And we have to be careful of that because we live in a world that doesn't believe in innocence until proven guilty. We live in a world where accusations come out and we immediately say, yep, we believe all people. Specifically women too. And I understand why we do that. Not trying to get into trouble, but given my own experience, you hopefully can understand why I pause now and try to hear everybody out and understand, well, what's going on. And so it gives me a little bit of a perspective here to talk about these things because, to be fair, the timing of all this is a little fishy. It is a little weird. I mean, Peloton's looking mighty good right now, for one. And it's like, did Peloton like go out there and dig out deep? Do we have dirt on this guy to justify our stock going down 11 points? I don't know. I mean, to be fair, the other side of the coin, Chris Noth was getting a lot of press, right? That could easily have been triggering for a lot of these people who years later were like, I don't feel good about this. I don't feel good about this. So, again, I can see both sides of this that make me want to pause and not just jump down and go on the condemnation train to condemn this man until I have more information, until we have a little bit more time to settle in. We shouldn't have to be the judge, jury, and executioner based on one article we read on social media, guys. We got to be better than that. And I don't know where this is going to net out. I will keep you guys updated. However, this isn't the only drama that's arising from this show. Now, as this is sort of coming out, there seems to be a lot of pieces attempting to take down the show in general and the crew and the work environment and the people in it, etc. This woman talks about this horrific scene where she was Charlotte's stand-in, and at one point, there was a lot of uncomfortable moments throughout the show. However, at one point, she was doing a GYNO appointment scene that Charlotte was doing where she had to have her legs in the stirrups. And it was like an uncomfortable position, and she had to sit there for hours on end waiting for the lighting, and then they left her there and didn't give her an excuse to leave. When you're a stand-in, you just sort of are there. You're like a mannequin that has to stay there without complaining while they light you or see you, someone at the same height and look in the position so they can just have like a body there. You're just a body to be there, and it is what it is. She committed to that job. She knew what it was, but she was doing this scene where she had her legs up in the stirrups and wasn't very comfortable, and she definitely was like, there was a lot going on. But she committed, she knew, and she did. And then it took so long, they left her in there, and they sort of walked away to lunch and didn't dismiss her, but she stayed because that's what she's supposed to do. And then she fell asleep. She fell asleep on the table. And she tells this story, and when she tells this story, she doesn't really name names. She doesn't do it to like cancel everybody, but she just says it just like an experience for her of where she stood up against it. And she tells this story, as she woke up in the stirrups, the crew had duct taped her legs to the stirrups and took Polaroids, almost laughing, like, haha, we pranked you. And she was horrified. And she didn't speak up, and she stayed around, and it was an awful thing. But then she shares, like, through the experience, she did stand up against one guy who said some awful comment to another one of her stand-ins. At one point, she did finally get the nerve to stand up and fight back. Good for you. That's what I'm always telling people, because when she did that, the guy felt more uncomfortable and he stopped. And so she goes and shares this all sort of her lessons on these sets, and that we don't really understand what it's really like, and that we shouldn't just assume it's always happiness and rainbows because it's not always there. And in reading this, it's just like, ugh, this is a horrific take on what it is, given if she's telling the truth. But then there's more. And before I even get to more, I'm happy because we have a guest to join me for the second part of this. Steph the Alter Nerd, what is up? Hey up.
Hey up, everyone. How y'all doing? I'm here.
I'm going off. I never thought I would, but I'm going off on a rant on Sex and the City.
Yep, I've been lurking a little bit. I'm hearing your rants.
Well, you sent a couple of these over too, and in my defense, that got me reading, and I was like, oh man, there's a lot of drama going on in this show. So feel free to chime in as we continue to go. So now I'm moving next to some of these articles you sent me, where the fans are now also well. There's also an allegation, just so we're clear.
Well, before you go on to the next article, this one that's on the screen in particular, I have to note she's actually spoken out about this before publicly. If you scroll down to the bottom of the article that I sent you, this one that you're looking at, I'm sure it says it was republished.
Oh, yeah.
Updated version of an article
from
originally published in February. So this isn't a matter of, oh, this is suspicious. Why is she only coming out with this now when the Just Like That series is coming out? With this one in particular, what's really chilling about it is she did it before this ever came out. She did it before pre-production. She did it before they started filming, which then started to get a little bit of press and a little bit of hype with the series. You know, she's spoken out before on this one, which, you know, which makes me, again, don't see any evidence, you know, her word against theirs at the moment, of course, but gives me more thought to perhaps maybe believe her more, because she's spoken out about it before, during a time when Sex and the City wasn't trending as much, let's say, if that makes sense. So yeah.
So there she is, Sarah Jessica Parker. And I don't know who else was involved. She doesn't name names, and part of me is kind of impressed that she did do that. Like this was clearly a story. That's the vibe I got, Steph, which made me believe her more. This wasn't like a getting it out to name people and whatever. This was like her life lesson and like this regret she lived with and how it made her stronger. And in reading it, I bought it. I mean, I think it came across very genuine, and I felt for her and sort of believed this environment on this set that didn't sound very good. Did you get that sense too? Yeah, totally. And it makes me sad in a way that a show that was about, for me, because it means so much to so many people, but a show that's about female empowerment, about females making up their own fate when it comes to love, destiny, relationships, taking control of their own sexuality, this, that, and the other, makes me sad that there was even a little bit of the culture that was completely antithesis to that, complete opposite, where they treated the Charlotte stand-in like this. It just makes me sad, and it, to me, tarnishes the Sex and the City legacy in a way, more so than it was about 4 main characters that were all white. There's no diversity. There's no this. There's no that. Do you know what? No, there wasn't. But it was of its time, of its era. We're in a different, complete world now. So calm your tits on that one. This tarnishes Sex and the City for me, this story, which is a shame. Well,
I really enjoyed it.
And just to be clear, and I don't want to call you out, but the person who's like, how is this relevant? She just wants attention. First of all, pay better attention. She did this randomly in February of early this year. There was no reboot talk or this stuff happening. They've repurposed this story now because it's relevant in that this is sort of the attitude on these sets. Yeah. And that thing I was trying to let you guys do, I was trying to let you guys read it and avoid keywords that get me in trouble, but whatever, let's go there. She said after the stir-up incident, when she got duct taped to it, which to me is already like, that's atrocious.
Yeah.
And just a weird story to make up. It's so detailed, weirdly, like, really? Why would you make that up for attention? And then she says she sucked it all up until the day arrived when an alpha male actor pointed to my fellow coworker, the stand-in for Miranda, and declared for all to hear, "I want that one, tied up, gagged, and brought to my trailer." I was disgusted. I don't even think he had a trailer. The next time that male actor got too close to me, I said, "This is my space. It's my job to stand here. Back up." It wasn't the most powerful speech I ever made, but at that time, after that, he stopped bothering us. And so, like, she's sharing these like little moments of sort of the attitude of the sets. And look, this especially back when this show was going, it was even worse back then in Hollywood, guys. So it's just sort of an attitude on sets. So I'm bringing that up of just like, is this again, Chris Noth, this isn't even an accusation of him. She's not naming him specifically. She didn't. I don't know if that'll change later. So I'm not even trying to make the correlation, but it's more of an attitude of what these sets were like. And yes, as Steph said, it's very distressing to know this show of all shows would have had that type of energy on sets when it's supposed to be about all this female empowerment. Add to that the fact that another a castmate of Chris Noth has now come forward. Someone who was on Law and Order with him has now, a third person has stepped up. I thought it was here, but it's not. She went on Instagram to add to that the fact that she also felt inappropriate. Her charges weren't as drastic, but definitely echoed like not a good guy. And, you know, this is an actress who's in there and sort of volunteered it because she wanted to sort of chime in with her own story, which you can go look for. But I'm sorry I'm not getting on to specifics just because I'm trying to avoid that big yellow sign of death. Add to all of that, what's happening right now is the show seemingly is trying to pivot, right, in a way, Steph? They're trying to, like, they know they've been, all right, so we've had all this drama. We're better than that. You know, Kim Cattrall hates me, so I got to try and be better. Everyone hates me. Well, so the show's to go, you know, more 2021 and go woke is what some people would call it. And what's amazing is, you know, they clearly were aiming to plead to this new audience of, you know, progressive, a more progressive, extreme progressive audience. And of course, it's not enough, Steph. Now they're all complaining that it's just the fact fans get very mediocre non-binary representation. This reboot is trying to make up for past missteps. The results are cringeworthy. Now, I'm gonna share the same concerns of I think this was weird, but it's this actor. They are non-binary. This actor is the name of this actor. I'm trying to Sarah. She's on screen here. I can't find the name. Hold on. I do want to give they credit. Sarah Ramirez, non-binary actor. Sarah Ramirez. Who I believe the pronoun is they. Who's up here? They play. It's sorry. It's still that it's hard for me because the plural singular always throws me off. If I'm having trouble, it's because my brain just doesn't register that way, Steph. I have to reset my entire brain to go from single to plural. They, are playing a character that is very cringy in that it's like they literally have a button that's like woke moment, and like it's super weird. When I watched, I'm like, they're trying too hard. Like, what's going on? Why aren't they making fun of this? And because I thought, well, they're not gonna because they're too scared. But it was surprisingly refreshing to see someone who obviously was, you know, once the Snyder representation agreed, like, this isn't the way. This is stupid. This is crazy. But it's also sort of an example of, okay, well, at least they're trying, and they're still complaining. Steph, it's like to me, it was like, as cringy as it was, I was like, all right, well, at least they're trying. Isn't that the point? Well, no, if you try too hard, then it's not right. And then the complaining of this is so frustrating to me of like, why even try, Steph? Like, why even try if you're going to like take a shot at bat and be like, all right, let's have non-binary representation on the show. Let's cast someone who is non-binary. Let's get them involved. Let's create this character. Let's try to have fun with it. And then you're still criticized. Does that make you want to try harder, Steph, or does that make you want to be like, all right, let's just not even go there?
Hell knows. I don't know. All I can say is I find it extremely funny, being 100, that a show like Sex and the City, that in recent years has been absolutely like criticized for not being woke enough, tries to be woke and fails at being woke, like in the most colossal way possible. Yeah, like, it's a very fine line. If you're going to do it, you gotta be freaking careful and do it right. Otherwise, the backlash seems to be even worse. So instead of you not having those woke, you know, the woke people having that that agenda, having that representation, You try and put a representation in, you get hammered even more if you don't get it right. So if you've even got an inkling that you're not going to get it right, don't freaking do it at all. You're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. And it's a shame because this series should at least be somewhat celebrated for at least trying. You know, at least they're trying to give it a go. At least they're trying to do something to show that representation and to bring it to the forefront, especially with a series like Sex and the City that has a lot of legacy to it, to bring these people in for the representation. They should at least be heralded for that, at least for trying. But no, instead, the woke mob, it's not good enough. No, it's not good enough. When will it ever be good enough? It is kind of where I'm getting to. I watched, I don't think it'll be on your Netflix because it's a UK comedian, but perhaps so. There's this UK comedian, and he has basically termed them the professionally upset.
Yeah.
And I saw the special yesterday, and I was like, shit, that's a really, really good like descriptive moment for these kinds of people. The professionally upset. It's never going to be good enough for them. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try to try and include the representation into anything, they are always going to find something that they're going to be professionally upset about.
You know what?
Because that's just the way it is now. Outrage is better than outrage. They choose outrage over praise at this stage, and it's awful.
Before we had to worry about all these, mispronouncing or using these terms, it reminds me of years ago, and I don't know if anybody else feels it, like when you'd meet someone and you'd say their name wrong, and they had like a clearly more complicated name, like Silent K or whatever the thing, like a name that's clearly like you're not going to get it the first time right, but you take a shot, and then the person either corrects you politely, or just ignores it and doesn't really care. Or is like, excuse me, my name is Andreo. Please say it right the first time. Okay, it's Andreo. You just learn it, okay? And there's just, it's like, that's the attitude that I'm reacting against. It has nothing to do with like me being offended or trying to put someone down. There are just some people who are just jerks and are just overly sensitive. Just always assume you're out to get them, and you don't respect me, and it's like. To me, that's the energy I get a lot of times, sometimes with this professionally upset crowd, because it's like, dude, I didn't know. Now you told me, let me try. Let's see if we can do it. If I'm consistently disrespecting you and choosing not to follow your rules and say it to your face, then okay, you can be rude back to me. Fair. Until then, can we be civil and be respectful and assume we're there to support each other? I don't feel like anybody wants the professionally upset, as we're calling them now. They don't want to have that. Do you feel that too? Did I lose you? Uh-oh.
Sorry, I'm back now. Are you all right?
Yeah, did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Did you hear my rant?
Pretty much got the gist of it towards the end when you were saying, the...
Uh-oh. We lost her. She's cutting in and out. Just when she thought she had good internet. She lost it. As Steph figures that out, she's still on pause. What do you think, chat? Do you know what I'm saying? It just feels like at some point we just got to assume. We got to stop assuming we're out to get one another, that we're trying to be offended or hurt people. It's a confusing time. Like I just said, I will admit it. It's hard for me. I try my best to refer to they as they, but it's really hard because the word they is part of our language that is a plural term. And so it's very confusing to me in certain ways to use that plural term in a way singularly. It really it's like Andy, you're using incorrect grammar. Andy, using incorrect grammar. It has nothing to do with trying to be offensive or do the wrong thing. And in a lot of ways, I don't ever want to do that, right? I'm never trying to purposely offend anybody. But it's hard. It's a hard thing to get tricked. So that's the reality for and I think for a lot of these things, there are lots for us to learn, and so it's frustrating. So, and I wish the show would be more like explaining that part of it. Like that's the reality of what I feel like these ladies would still be like. Oh my God! Like I met someone who's they like what that's the reality that I feel like most people don't even want to discuss. And the show, the way it progresses, goes through it is it's very weird. Anyway, so the point of the matter is, so even though they're trying, which I was like, all right, well they're trying, isn't that what we're all give more representation? No, now it's mediocre non-binary representation. Like this headline just makes me roll my eyes so deep because what do you want? You want an immediate perfect thing right away. I don't know. It's weird to me. Add to that, just like that, we had an opportunity to address its diversity problem and it failed miserably. So now they add black cast members as well. And I actually liked the black cast member they added. But as this author wrote, both of these come from Glamour. As this author writes, it felt like someone tells you their best friend is black, they've read an extensive reading list on how to be an ally, and that they also fancy Denzel Washington to prove they aren't racist. So again, when you try and you're like, all right, let's make Sex and the City better. We're gonna finally have black actors in this show. We're gonna have non-binary people in this show. We're finally gonna be what the world's about. Like we gotta address this stuff and we gotta be on top of it. We gotta learn together. And no, now you're just still racist, Sex and the City. You did it wrong. You did it wrong. How dare you? Oh man, you have a black friend? That's enough for me? It's like, guys, why are we so aggressive to each other and so defensive? Why don't call the show out for being cringy? Call the show out for being bad. Call the show for being not funny. Call the show out for actual critic reasons. But my God, when they try, it's still never enough. Never enough. Never enough. Oh, I love that movie. Anyway, we went on a lot of tangents on this live show, but at the end of the day, Sex and the City, they're all under fire. Chris Noth, I don't know where this is going to go. Peloton feels like cancel culture. Do you think they rushed to pull that commercial too quickly, Steph? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it's the norm now. Any sniff of impropriety, any sniff of allegations, this, that, and the other that come public, whoever is sponsoring that particular celebrity or well-known figure is going to get dropped pretty much immediately like a freaking hot potato. So this is just part and parcel of, unfortunately, the cancel culture that we're living in at the moment. Peloton, as far as they're concerned, had no other choice but to drop him, given the culture that we're in at the moment. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. Do I think it's fair that they've done it? No, because Chris, as far as I'm aware, hasn't had his say, his rebuttal, his defense out in the public yet. We don't know his side of the story.
He has denied it.
Again, yeah, he's denied it.
But we need more specifics from him. I agree.
Yes. He's not provided a full, rebuttal, a full defense of, no, this is why I'm denying it. So without hearing both sides, Peloton, to me, have done exactly what every other company would do in that situation. Rush to a conclusion to favour the allegation over no defence within the public sphere as it is at the moment, guilty until proven innocent situation, and dropped him. Like every other situation that comes like this. Always happens the same way. In fact, at this stage, the cycle is so repetitive, it's getting boring. Can't a company actually turn around and be like, do you know what? Screw the allegation. Let's wait and be balanced enough to hear the other side, get that into public sphere, see how the public react at that point, and then decide if we're going to drop this dude or not.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if Peloton had the guts. Right, if Peloton had the guts to say, well, we spoke to Chris, he's denied these allegations, we're going to allow them both to pursue this. Oh my God, can you imagine? People would have just roasted and canceled Peloton for innocent until proven guilty. That's the society and the culture we live in, and why this is all connected. And beautiful way to tie it all up, because again, to wrap it all up, the show's not mediocre, non-binary. The show's not black enough. You put black people in, but they're not the right black people. All this stuff, and then the show itself. I was on the show, and it's like. All of this compiles of all of us just trying to cancel and jump on this. What's the reality? What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on everything we have here? Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe here to the channel. Hit the bell for all alerts while you're doing it. Smash that like button while you're there and leave a comment down below. And while you're at it, make sure you go subscribe to Steph the Alter Nerd. There's her name. Look that up on YouTube. You can support her as well. We're not going anywhere. We got lots more to talk about here in the live show, but I'm going to try to attempt to have clipped this show to make it a shorter video so you guys have it all in one place. If you're watching live, don't leave. We're not done.